Hey guys, hope you all are doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about how to text a guy to keep him interested. I'm going to share with you guys some advice that's going to help you out in the long run. So it's not just for one particular guy, it's going to be for your life in general. And if you follow this advice, you will not only seem interesting over text, but also in person and to, I would say, the fair majority of people if you do all of these things that I am saying. So the first way to keep a guy interested over text is, first of all, to not do things that are going to scare him off. So basically, you don't want to act desperate when you're texting him because that is actually going to push him away and make him very disinterested in you. So I'm just going to run through some major things that you should not do over text to indicate to him that you might be a little bit desperate. The first thing is responding immediately to texts. So you might be snapping, texting back and forth, and there is a little bit of a delay or a response time. You don't want to be responding immediately every single message because first of all, you're going to run out of things to say real fast if you are constantly communicating that way. And secondly, it just gives the energy of you being too available, okay, too convenient. You will actually want to create an air of scarcity. Okay, you want to make yourself more scarce, a little bit more of a rarity, and not so readily available and not so easy to get a hold of because this makes you more valuable. From a psychological point of view, you seem more valuable when you are scarce. That is just pure psychology. Next is trying to carry a conversation that is one-sided. So what I mean by that is you're the one striking up the conversation. You're the one carrying the conversation. Maybe he gives you really lame responses like LOL or O, and you are still trying to respond to this, okay? Which means that you're carrying the conversation. It's only a one-sided conversation. He is basically expressing disinterest in you and you are trying to pull something out of a conversation that is not there. Again, that's just like desperate vibes. And don't feel bad if you've done this before. I have definitely made this mistake before and just learn and grow from it and get better. That's how everybody gets better, is they make mistakes, they learn, and then they get better, right? The next thing is bombing people's phones. I see this so much. This is just the number one way to drive a guy away, and definitely he will definitely at that point not be interested in you. So if he doesn't respond in a timely manner, maybe he's caught up with something in his day or at work or whatever, just keep your cool, okay? I don't know why, but a lot of, not just women, but men seem to think that if you don't respond in a certain amount of time that you are automatically with someone else or you are purposely ignoring them. That's not always the case. Don't assume that. And just be comfortable with longer response times, basically. And in no circumstance should you ever bomb someone's phone and just completely lose it, okay, over text message or snap or whatever. It just doesn't accomplish anything and it just makes you, again, look like you don't have a good hold on yourself. And again, it's just going to drive a guy away. So those are some basic things. If you want a more in-depth explanation of how to not look desperate over text message, check out my video, How to Not Look Desperate Over Text Message. And I will just link it up here for you guys. So now that we got that over with and now you know how not to act desperate, it's just as important to know what not to do as what to do. Now let's move on to how to keep him interested. The thing about being interesting is that you really can't fake it. It's the same thing as being intelligent. You cannot fake being smart. You just are or you aren't. And it's so funny because in order to be an interesting person, the person who is observing you must also be interesting. That is the catch-22, okay? So if you're dealing with a boring person who likes boring things, it doesn't really matter how you act. You can be super boring and nothing is going to interest them because they are just boring people. But if you're actually dealing with somebody that is amazing, has a very active mind, intelligent, they're interesting, then they're going to be able to recognize other minds that are also interesting. Like attracts like, okay? And we often look for mirror versions of ourselves, whether or not we know it. The first rule for being interesting is that to be the most interesting person in the room, you must be the most interested. So being interesting means that you have certain qualities and traits. It's actually your personality. I believe that you can build this over time, but it's not like an instant thing. Okay, so people who are interesting are naturally curious, they're naturally inquisitive, they're naturally enthusiastic, And they also have a sense of wonder. They are still very childlike about things in life. Things still amaze them. Things still get them going, elicit an emotional reaction. You get an emotional reaction to things as opposed to people who are just completely jaded by life. Doesn't matter what you put in front of their face, they are bored no matter what. They lost that sense of awe. They've lost that childlike curiosity. These qualities are what actually make people interesting, and they are actually also what make you smart. Because in order to be smart, you have to have the desire to learn things, and to have the desire to learn things, you have to be curious, right? Be a curious person. Be interested in this person. Ask them genuine questions. Ask them meaningful questions, not small talk, fluffy questions, okay? Might not necessarily be over text. This might be something more suitable in person, but you know what? You can ask things over text too. You can ask really intelligent questions over text, and it wouldn't even be weird at all. In fact, if you do ask really deep, penetrating questions and they respond with acting like you're weird, then they're probably not very smart. Just throwing it out there. Another great way to be interesting is to be the one that is listening the most. So when you are talking on the phone, let them do most of the talking. The really smart people and the really truly interested people are the ones that are in the listening position. They are listening. They're not babbling and talking your ear off. They're the quiet ones, absorbing all the information. They're not trying to show off how smart they are. They are just trying to get better by being the listener. You'll notice so many wise people, they don't say much. They don't need to. So you'll realize that if you develop the skill of listening, you will appear more interesting, even though it sounds counterintuitive. Don't always be the one talking. In fact, if you can get them going about things that they are passionate about and they're interested in, and get them in a really revved up emotional state, that's really emotionally charged for them, and they're going to remember that conversation, and then you're going to be super, super memorable to them because you will have elicited emotion and passion from them just from a conversation. Now, like I said, being interesting goes hand in hand with being smart or being intelligent. Don't think that because you weren't good in school or you weren't maybe smart in the classical way doesn't mean you are not smart. That's completely false. Everybody is smart in their own way. Everybody has something that they shine in, okay? You could be smart hands-on, you could be smart athletically, you could be smart emotionally, good with people. I could just go on and on. But basically, realize that you are definitely capable of being smart and intelligent, and don't ever think that you're not. Don't ever think that you are a stupid person or that you are dumb, because the only thing that's making that true is your own belief about it. That is what is going to perpetuate that. If you can change your belief and believe that you can become a person of intelligence and become smarter and better, well-learned, well-spoken, all of these are skills that people build day by day, okay? You can definitely become interesting and smart. It's not something you don't have control over. So great ways to do this are just, again, have an open mind, be naturally curious about things, follow what you're naturally curious about. Are you naturally curious about psychology? Well, then learn about psychology. Are you naturally curious about... Doesn't matter. The point is, get in the mode where you learn. Because it doesn't matter what you learn about. What matters is how good you are at learning it and developing the muscle in your brain that learns. You need to develop the actual skill of learning. And it doesn't have to be reading books. That is a really great way to gain knowledge. There's so many different ways to learn now. It's just ridiculous. There's no excuse to not learn. You can learn on YouTube. You can learn on podcasts. You can learn through audiobooks. There's just so many different mediums now. Find whatever way works for you. Also, when you start reading books or learning or whatever medium you choose, you are going to actually adopt the mentality of really smart, successful people automatically. The more you listen to these people and the more you absorb what they're saying, and not just the words, but the energy, the tone, the attitudes, the beliefs, you will become so much like these people who you should be admiring, successful people that are happy, they're wealthy, they're abundant, they're everything that you would possibly want to be. Or maybe they have found love in their life. They have a great family. Well, they have a certain mindset and a certain attitude, right? That there is no quick fix to being an interesting person. You either are an interesting person or you aren't, type of thing. And becoming interesting, knowing a lot of things, becoming a super unique person that way takes time. Just realize that it's worth it, and that when you do get to that point and you do read a lot of books, learn a lot of things, and you develop that curiosity and the skill to learn, you are going to be definitely one of a kind. There's very few people out there that are genuinely like this, and you will definitely stand out, and you'll have no problem being interesting to like 90% of guys, honestly. You're not going to have issues with that at all. So when you do have these qualities, it's going to be very evident to people. They're going to sense it like right away through your energy, through the way you speak, through the way you perceive things, through the questions you ask. It's just going to be super, super obvious that you are an interesting person. And you're not even going to have to try. You're really just going to be like acting like yourself, and they're going to see that you're a really, really high quality person. So that is my answer for how to keep a guy interested through text, is to actually transform into a truly interesting person. If you love dating and relationship advice, please subscribe, and also add me on Instagram at lyrascotchz. If you have any questions or any kind of videos you want me to make, just DM me on there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!